since Halloween is right around the corner, what are some scary, unexplained phenomena that you've experienced? I worked in a hospital. As the evening supervisor for the food service department, one of my jobs was to lock up the department, then have security come and verify that it was locked. I walked into one of the big conference rooms to make sure it was clean and turn off the lights. There was a man standing next to the podium. He was an old man with gray hair. He was wearing a brown pants, a light shirt and an old golf hat. He also had a cane. He seemed as real as everyone else. I thought he was lost, so as I approached him, I asked if I could help him. He did not reply, but smiled at me. I asked again and again. He didn't reply but nodded. I asked if he was lost and needed help finding something. As I spoke, I drew closer to him, so by this point I was only about 6 feet away from him. I asked again if I could help him, and he just smiled at me, turned away and walked through the solid brick wall. I was so shocked it took me a few seconds to react. I went to the wall and pushed on it, but, as I said, it was solid and cold. I went out into the hall and looked at the other side of the wall. There was no one there. I went back inside, turned off the lights, and locked up the room. When I went back to my staff, who were finishing their chores, they all asked if I was okay, because I was evidently very pale. When they were done and clocked out, I called security for their final walkthrough. When we came to that conference room, the door was still locked, but the light was on. The security guy unlocked the room, turned off the light, and locked it back up. He then walked me out to my car. On our way past the window to that room, we both stopped and looked at each other. The light was on again. Neither of us went back to turn it off again that night. Happiness can always be found in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light. I used to have a little cabin down a dirt road outside of Charleston, SC. It was fairly isolated, built on an old farm near the site of the historic Belvedere School. On more than one occasion I was woken up by a little girl's voice saying hi. I never saw anything, just an excited hi. And then I'd be awake with my heart pounding. I'd say hi back as I'm jumping into my car and driving away in the middle of the night. I've spilled milk on the counter once and it disappeared. And it wasn't just a drip, it was a good miss when pouring. I grabbed a towel, turned around, and it was gone. TBF if a ghost wants some of my milk and will clean it up too, I ain't gonna be mad. I've heard so many stories of objects being dropped and seemingly clipping into the floor, or non-existence, like what you are describing. Wouldn't it be scary if that happened to people? Like some missing people who seem to vanish and never get found, just fell out of existence or into a void between dimensions. It creeps me out, the thought of that. I live in a loft, and one night I'm chillin' in bed and I hear my GF talking downstairs. I then hear her say, "That's weird, I thought you were upstairs." I then chime in, "I am upstairs." She ran upstairs so fast it would make your head spin. She claims to have seen someone that looked like me downstairs, my twin. The strange thing is, about a month later, I'm downstairs making myself a drink and I see her walk by me out of the corner of my eye. I asked her a question and she didn't answer. I thought it was a little weird. I went upstairs and saw that she was in bed and hadn't been downstairs for hours. Nearly shat my pants. Basically, we have been seeing each other's doppelgangers in the house and my GF is very freaked out. She claims it's happened about 3 times to her here. I did a solo hike of a pretty quiet area, 15k or more round trip, and for a majority of the hike I had the constant feeling of being watched despite being alone. It would come in waves, slowly starting from voices in my head saying "head back now, it's over," to my own pulse being so loud I was ready to fight. My friends and I go on an annual camping trip every summer in a pretty haunted forest. The first year, on the first night, I got woken up at 3 AM to a little girl voice saying my name, giggling, and telling me to play. I brushed it off thinking my friends were messing with me. The next morning everyone asked if I was messing with the tents and laughing real late at night. I didn't tell anyone about it until the following year, when the exact same thing happened to my buddy first night at around 3 AM. Nothing ever happens beyond that, and we make it a fun bet on the way there who the girl will ask to play this year. We're all too chicken shit to actually leave our tents when she calls though, so I don't know what to make of this. Back in high school I used to sit on the floor of my closet to do my hair and makeup. I had a little setup in there, and it worked out well, since everything was out of sight. Anyway, I'm in there getting ready to head out for the night. First thing that happens is that the lights in my room, not in the closet, start to slowly dim and get bright. That happens once or twice. I continue to get ready. Then a few minutes later, my bedroom door, which is right next to me, slams closed. When I try and open it, it won't budge. I'm still sitting on the floor in my closet, but I'm reaching as far as I can for the doorknob when I hear a man whisper, not but an inch from my ear. Oh my god. I'm up and out of my room in a flash. I wouldn't sleep in there for days. Just thinking about it now creeps my the F out. I'll never forget that voice. I built my own toys table when I was 12. One day, I went into the room and saw all the stalls knocked over. I yelled for my younger sister, assuming she broke it. Then a little girl in a white dress walked into the room. I realized it wasn't my sister and screamed. She disappeared. Turns out I wasn't the only person in my house who has seen her, but she never touched my stable ever again. My friend's mom passed away from lung cancer a few years back. Their house was at the bottom of a hill, and there was a church on the top of the hill, across the street, a few hundred feet away. Her funeral was at the church. Before the service started, I was walking with a different friend from the church down the hill back to their house to drop something off. Across the street, there was a lady walking up the hill by herself. She looked identical to my friend's mom who had passed. I hit my buddy in the arm and told him to look across the street, and both our faces turned white. Dead ringer for my friend's mom, like her ghost was taking a walk up to the church to see who showed up to her service. It was the creepiest thing I have ever experienced. Just glad my buddy was there with me to experience it too. I woke up one morning and looked downstairs, only to see two figures of people, one in the living room and one in the entryway. Neither moved, and they were gone. As soon as my frantic crying woke up my mom, and she turned on the lights. I've never seen something similar since, but if that damned family room is ever dark, I feel like someone, or something, is watching / following me up the stairs, which, going up, my back is to the family room, so really freaky. I was trying to sleep in my bed one night, and I felt something grab the comforter. I tried to ignore it, but then the side of the bed compressed, and it felt like someone was trying to pull the covers off of me. I got up, threw the covers off of the bed, and booked it into the living room. Paranoid AF now. I'm standing there in the hallway, where the hall meets both the living room and the kitchen, and I hear this awful shriek sound from outside. It is so loud, and it reverberates so weird, and I get the sensation that something has spotted me. The best part? The sliding glass door is wide open, and my cat is making a mad dash for it to see if she can find the source of that noise. I book it across the kitchen and slam the sliding glass door shut, lock it, just in time to hear the outside patio gate clatter close. I close the blinds and proceed to curl up in my desk chair in my blankets. For the rest of the night it feels like someone has wrapped their arms around my necks, but I just pretend it isn't there and watch TV until the sun comes up. I've looked around the internet for sounds that it might have been buck mating calls, foxes, weird birds, but nothing has sounded even close to this. My mother and I have always had some pretty spooky stuff happen to us. When my mom was dating my dad, he didn't believe in ghosts, but long story short, now he does. I've always told my boyfriend that my house is haunted, and he has never believed me. The night before we went to college, shit went wild. There were footsteps everywhere in the house, the toilet kept flushing. He has a very scientific mind and has a reason for everything. But that night he got so freaked out he had to leave. We always joke that the ghosts finally showed him what always happens in my house right before he left as a going away present. It was late at night and my dog had to use the bathroom. I brought him to the front yard and held him on a leash since my house didn't have a gate. Across my house was my cousin's house, and I would often stare at it since it always gave me weird vibes. A hint of white suddenly appeared on their roof, and at first I thought it was a car light since cars usually pass by at night, but there were no cars around. I moved a little, thinking that it could be the shine of the moon, but that wasn't the case. A little girl appeared where the white light appeared. She was wearing a white dress and had dark hair. She had a small figure and she had an odd aura. It wasn't the aura of an angel, but rather something demonic. Something that I thought would only occur in horror movies. I didn't want to holler at her since I was too scared. Not to mention it's late at night and I don't want to wake anyone up. So, being the wuss I am, I just stared at her. She didn't stay long, and her back remained towards me. Her dress went up, and she vanished into the house. It was like she fell in, or went through a portal. I had to rub my eyes to check if I was alright. My cousins are adults, and I know they don't have a little girl living with them. I thought I was hallucinating until a few days later, my cousins told me their house is haunted, and they see the little girl too. It's been almost a year since I moved states, and I often wonder if that ghost of a girl is still over there. Followed my stepmother to lunch. I was in the left turning lane when a car had turned into where my car was. I was on my stepmother's bumper to ensure I made the light and this car just moved into my existence. I got lightheaded from adrenaline and pure confusion, but thought maybe I was just not right in the head when my stepmother pulls over and starts yelling about how the hell my new car wasn't wrecked. She was also shaking and told me I needed to pray because Jesus took the wheel or some shit. Good guy Jesus dematerialized the other car. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.